during their IPO was based on how well it worked with a substantially smaller number of users. And
The pre-pandemic Zoom.
right when, like I've mentioned it before, I was an early adopter to Zoom. I literally told people this is going to be the future of healthcare. This is where it's going. This is definitely going to be the thing that we're going to do. And I missed the news that they were going to be going public somewhere in there.
Oh,
So uh, lost out on that on you know list of things that I missed out on life. The IPO for Zoom when I knew it was going to be huge.
ah.
ah, but here we are thinking about nutrition and fitness for everyone out there that listens to this podcast.
I
Thank
was
you
gonna
all
say it's
for
probably a good idea that you didn't hit it big with that because, like, yeah, this would not be a thing. You'd be like, just on some random island, just abandoning your family. And wait, that's my fantasy.
yeah,
Sorry.
I was going to say that's with my family, but probably still talking about nutrition and fitness, literally looking down the beach, thinking about how many steps should I get in a day, which is
Oh, there you go. Yeah. All
we're
right.
talking about. You know,
So, all right. So, yeah. So, this is something, yeah, I would be thinking about and then probably not doing if I was sitting on the beach. Because when I go on vacation, it's usually I front load the activity first thing in the morning, get the gym workout in, and then sit and relax. So no steps. But yeah, so steps in the day. I think we all know that the magic number on the internet is 10,000 steps a day. I hear that all the time. Like, hey, I'm getting my 10,000 steps in. I've certainly never programmed that with anybody, but they always divulge that immediately. Hey, I'm making sure I'm getting my 10,000 steps. So
right.
it may be a little bit different than what a lot of people think they have to do.
And the interesting thing with it that I feel like a lot of people don't know, especially at this point in time, is that do you know where the 10,000 steps in a day comes from, Matt?
I do. It was actually a Japanese researcher.
Right. That was selling pedometers. So it was a marketing ploy to get you to buy a pedometer to count your steps, to make sure that you got your 10,000 in. And the only way at that time, I can't remember when it was, this had to have been,
1965.
yeah, that's what I was going to say, is it had to be in the 50s or 60s. The only way to figure that out would be to buy this pedometer to count all of your steps. Because pre that, really to count your steps, you'd have to actually count them by hand or use a measuring stick, the big wheel that as you walk with it and it turns, it counts yards. So you
Or
can
just
equate that
carry
to
like an
steps.
abacus with you as you walk. And
Right. Uh, so they put it out there 10,000 steps in a day. How are you going to get it? This is how you track it. Somewhere in there, people started attaching health platforms to it. So if you can get 10,000 steps in a day, you will have this happen for you. This other thing that occurs in your body will only occur if you get 10,000 steps in a day. I don't have anything against people promoting exercise.
absolutely, it's just it's the one size fits all approach. I think we've kind of talked about that over and over again. That it's not right. It's an individualized approach when it comes to fitness and nutrition. So to say that everybody should be getting at least 10,000 steps a day is asinine.
Yeah. And we mentioned on previous podcasts, you can go back and listen to our optimum number of days podcast. Just getting started and doing something is better than nothing. So if you can't reach 10,000 steps in a day, it's okay. Don't feel like that's something you hold yourself down to. But if you were to have a goal, if you were to try to set a step count for a day, I would suggest starting with a time limit and not necessarily a number of steps. A lot of people are going to have a hard time initially getting started. So if you set a time limit of, I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk today, that's a smart goal. It's very specific, it's measurable, achievable, really
Absolutely.
timely.
And I think in that SMART goal, I think realistic is really, really important here, because if I'm sitting around all day and I haven't achieved any sort of walking goal ever, and all of a sudden you tell me to do 10,000 steps and have a sedentary job where I sit 12 hours a day, that's not realistic. But if I set a goal to walk for 5 minutes a day, that's realistic and we can build upon that. But if you're saying, hey, from 0 to 10,000, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're not going to feel good about it. You're going to fail for a week and then you're done with it.
Yeah. And the big reason why I like the 5 minute goal is all of us are going to have a different number of steps that you get inside of 5 minutes. I might have a longer stride than Matt, but Matt might walk at a faster pace than me. So he might get way more steps in 5 minutes than I do, even though my stride length is longer. So it comes down to the amount of time. Technically, time under tension is helpful for strength activities, where this time is helpful for cardiovascular work.
Yeah, much
And
more of the research out there talks about the health benefits as far as minutes of physical activity. There's really not a whole lot of research. There's some, but there's not a whole lot that gauges it with steps. We always hear the 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity. It's not 10,000 steps a day.
yeah, and there are some recent research studies that came out specifically talking about the steps. So that's kind of how this topic came up for
You
us.
you've probably got the same one pulled up that I do. There's a 2019 one I'm looking at.
What journal is yours from?
Let's see. I've got just the notes. What journal is yours from? Let's see.
The European Journal of Preventative Cardiology.
It's got the notes. All right. So tell me what yours says, because I actually didn't see. I'm bad. This is my bias. I didn't even put what journal it's from.
Yeah, it's okay.
So there you go.
All of these things are going to have different amount of stuff that they say because they look at things a little bit different. Mine says 4,000 steps per day is a good target because your risk of all cause mortality is decreased.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. And yeah, and then there's kind of a law of diminishing returns in a couple of different studies of like you really don't see any more of that decreased mortality getting past, like from what I saw it was what, like 7,000 7,500 or 8,000, I believe, in some studies. So
Right. The
that's
highest reduction in mortality is between 6 and 7,000, is
yep,
what this says. And you start getting decreasing. So the bell curve peaks there,
yep.
but the benefits start occurring at 4,000, is what this says. So, I would suggest that the benefits start occurring if you just go from zero activity to any activity.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Like something's better than nothing.
so there, in this study, this is a really large study. There are sample sizes 230,000. So I don't, I'm too far down on the page. I'm not going to, I know it's come out in the last 4 years. So I can tell you that it's either 2019 or 2020 when this was originally done. But what is also interesting is that it also took into account a wide range of people who walk varying amounts per day, because this is more of a survey, less of a prospective study. Um, but they had 4,000, 5,500, 7,300, and 11,500 steps, and each of those increments saw quote unquote increased um, health benefits. So whether that's it's a survey, so I can't necessarily say that they could say that
Right.
somebody directly points that this is the things. You can have all those things, but I feel like is important because of that study, the one that Matt's referencing and citing, and some other ones that I looked up specifically for this podcast, is that really that range of 4,000 to 7,000, if you're equating it to in a single day, is what would be recommended that you attempt to shoot for. Like if you had to put a goal for a number of steps on, that would be the goal.
And I think also kind of lost in that too is that, progression and overload. Like you said, like if you're not walking at all, just walking for 5 minutes is a progression. It's an overload. If I've been walking 20,000 steps a day, but all of a sudden I go, oh, I heard I only have to take 2,000 steps. Like reverting back is not the smartest smartest goal either. But yeah, I think we overcomplicate. And I say we meaning just people in general. Like we want to overcomplicate stuff and just instead of just going, all right, a little bit more activity and a little bit less food if I'm wanting to lose weight.
Yeah. And if you're really thinking about it too, it's a continuity where you have to continue to do the activity. Going from zero to something doesn't last if you go from something to nothing. You have to keep up with the activity. So setting a goal to start doing a 5 minute walk a day and then maintaining the goal to say, I'm going to do a 5 minute walk every day. I'm going to do a 5 minute walk 3 times this week. Whatever it is that you want to set and be specific for, but that way you can still have that continued progressive overload, but you keep doing the activity. It's a lifestyle. It's an activities of daily living, not an activities of this one time in your life.
Absolutely. It's like, okay, cool. I did 4,000 or 7,000 or 10,000 steps in a day. I'm done. I always tell people it's not a terminal process. Like it's not the final level of the video game. And you go, hey, sweet, I got my 10,000 steps. I'm done. No, like no, it's a lifestyle thing. You constantly have to do it and constantly have to find progressive overload if you're wanting to better your overall health.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to mention the other thing too. You, Here on this podcast, we always predicate that strength is greater than cardio. And I still stand by that. But improving improving your cardio will help with your strength activity.
Absolutely.
So if you had to put down, you can only do one workout activity in a week. I would say, like we said on a previous podcast, total body would be where it's at. You want to do a total body strength activity, you're going to get some amount of cardiovascular work in there. If you have 2 days, we mentioned this on a previous podcast, strength and cardio. The importance of that is that cardio is going to help with a lot of different things. So the 4,000 steps we just mentioned can show you your decreased all cause mortality. That also is going to help with your strength activity because the better your cardiovascular system works, the better strength activity can go. And then also the largest downside for people that only do strength activities and do not incorporate cardio with it are cardiac arrest kind of events where you've built up all the strength, so you're built up all this muscle mass. Now you have increased blood flow through your body. You have an increased volume of those things, which you can see increased weight increases, quote unquote, on the scale because you started working out and doing this other effort. But that is also more impactful on your heart because now your heart has to pump all this additional blood that you create, all this additional fluid that you're holding onto for all of your muscles that you're using, all these other things you're utilizing. Working that heart muscle in a way that keeps it functioning properly, like going for a 5 to 10 minute walk, getting your 4,000 steps a day, is really going to make sure that it continues to function properly while you're doing your strength activities and after.
Yeah, it's not compartmentalized, but I think, so many people like say, hey, I'm a strength athlete or I'm an endurance athlete, but you've got to have a well-rounded fitness and wellness program and training program overall to ensure you're the absolute best at what you want to accomplish.
Right. So, either way, that's kind of what we want to talk about today for everybody out there. If you are looking at your day, when is the time that you could incorporate a 5 minute walk in your day? So, for me, it is basically every time I have to go walk away to go see patients or when I'm walking from my parking spot to the hospital, all of those times are 5 minute walks for me.
Yeah, for me, it's much different. I think I've kind of got a similar lifestyle to a lot of the people that we work with. My job's a little bit more sedentary. It's similar to this. I'm sitting here all day talking to people via the wonderful platform of Zoom that updates continuously. So like I have to kind of make my 5 minute walks here and there so that maybe to go, check the mail or just, go outside and get a little bit of fresh air or go grab a cup of coffee or anything like that. And so finding different ways to incorporate my steps throughout the day.
Right. And that's a good way to do it. Thinking about where you're going to get your steps in ahead of time. Where is your place that you're going to eat? For Matt, he works from home. He still has to get up from where he's sitting currently and walk somewhere else in his home to be able to get to the food. And then he has to go walk to somewhere else necessarily to sit down or walk back to his desk. Any of those things, all of that still counts. All of that small amount of walking still counts for your total steps in the day, even if it's just something simple as getting up and going get a glass of water and come back. All of it's still going to be included.
And I think an easy thing, we've talked about trackers before, and we've go back and listen to that one and our differing opinions on trackers. But I have so many people that, they're like, oh, I've got my Apple Watch and it gives me a stand reminder. Like, all right, that's no longer just a stand reminder. That's a walk reminder. Like you're not just standing up, go take 5 minutes to walk. And then think about how easy it is if you do that 12 times a day, how many steps you're going to get up. And especially if you haven't been doing that, that's going to add up really quick.
Yeah. If you have issues trying to figure out where you can incorporate your 5 minute walk, head on over to franchisenf.com, sign up for your free meet and greet. It only takes about 15 minutes to establish whether or not we're going to be a good fit for each other. Start trying to figure out a way to help you achieve your nutrition and fitness goals that are related to you. Like we say
Yeah,
every
where
week,
it's not a blanket statement, not 10,000 steps, not 7,500 steps. It's catered to you.
right? Like we say every week, maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep and every step.